What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchet REACT and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. So excited about this video. If you're new to us
and we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's get it.
And welcome back to the 77% Street Debate. My name is Edith Kimani, and this week we are back in Kenya's capital of Nairobi. Now, this city has been the stage of ongoing protests, initially started against a controversial finance bill that proposed sweeping increases in taxes. Now, those protests have turned into something else, demanding better accountability and zero corruption from this government. But we're here to ask, are protests the only way for Kenyans to get their voices heard? And what next for the young people of this movement? Who better to answer that question than the actual members of the movement? But I want to start with a general question. You know, the protests have been going on, and I'm saying ongoing because it's still happening for a while now. But how many people have attended at least one of those protests? Let me see by show of hands. That is all but two people. I'm not surprised that Mr. Owino was not at the protest. When you find out who he is later, you'll understand why. But Shakira, let's start with you, because you've become almost like the face of this movement. Your face is in a mural. How does that make you feel, and why did you attend the protest in the first place?
It is very surreal for me and humbling because I know myself. So I feel almost like I do not deserve this level of attention. But again, I understand the kind of impact that the specific viral moment captured.
So the viral moment you're talking about, obviously the Kenyans know what it is, but I'll explain it to our global audience. You stood up to a police officer and you said, "You're not taking me anywhere. I'm standing up for my rights." Why were you so angry that day?
That was the second day of the protests, and on the first day I had been arrested. I wouldn't even use the term arrested because I was ambushed by plainclothes officers, and they threw me into a vehicle, they harassed me, they beat me, and they took me to Central Police. And we were detained among other protesters until 8 p.m. So I didn't understand why the people's demands and had to be met with such brutality. And in my opinion, we did not deserve to experience what we were experiencing. So I was like, if this moment ever happens to me again, I have to be able to speak up for myself. And it just so happens that people were there and they filmed the moment. And to be honest, I was scared. Yeah. But my anger and frustration superseded my fear at that point. And that's why I stood up against those policemen.
All right. So Shakira's anger superseding her fear. Mohammed, you are a journalist, a communicator, but very much also involved in these protests. So I did ask the question, what sparked the protest? Because, I mean, Kenyans have been known to protest for a while, but not like this, not at this scale. What triggered this?
I think people just got tired because for the longest time, Kenya has come to the brink of revolution so many times. But
revolution, that's a very strong word.
It is a very strong word. It's a word that I'm using because I know Kenya has come to that brink for so many times. I think we can go back all the way to the 90s when we had the multi-party, when we were fighting for multi-party democracy in this country. 2002, when all of us were at Uhuru Park and saying yote wezekana bila Moi. 2007, unfortunately, what happened, followed by the coalition government. And then 2018, the handshake government. There's one uniform factor throughout, and that is politicians always come in and hijack the movements and make it about themselves. So what's different this time around, I think the people, they got tired of that. They're like, every time we come to the brink of genuine change in this country, politicians come in, hijack the movement, make it about themselves, and then we're back to square one. Mm-hmm. So now it's like no more. Yeah.
And another defining characteristic of this movement, as we are calling it, is that it was national. You know, it wasn't just concentrated in the urban centers. And you're from Maralal in Samburu, and you've come all the way from there. And I know you also participated in protests there. Tell me how the environment was where you're from.
These issues are not affecting us only at national level, but also back at the county level. A lot of things are not happening right. So there is a lot of anger, especially now on the youth, because we have a huge population of youths who are not employed and who are disregarded. They're not even given chance in decision-making processes. Our government is like a nocturnal ninja. At the middle of night, they're pulling out some moves, sneaky moves, and at the end of it all, they give us very detrimental effects of finance bill, taxation, and stuff. And people have really exhausted all the possible ways to dialogue, all the possible ways and channels to talk.
Yeah.
So they can't talk anymore. They just have to use streets to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what is the message now? Because at the beginning it was very clear, right? Reject the finance bill. And I want to speak to some people who participated in the protest.
Oh, okay. Before we even get into there, I feel like, remember how in our history books, right, we would hear about the world leaders, black leaders, in connection to Martin Luther King, and how he would go different places like abroad and connect the movements, like, how they felt like our fight wasn't just our fight here, it was our fight on the main line and everywhere else. Main line. On the continent, Mother Africa, right? What I'm seeing now, especially with social media, is that we're living history right now, in a way that it has never happened before.
Correct.
Like, we're not just depending on our leaders to tell us what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
We could see it ourselves. Social media. This was all over. This reached the U.S. side of social media. This was all my Facebook page. People were sharing it, and I'm like, oh, I never hear you say nothing about Africa ever.
Right.
So to see that and to know that everyday people is now aware of what's going on in other places that may not directly affect us, but at the same time, it really does affect everybody.
Right, because again, everybody is going through it in a way that is similar. You know what I'm saying?
Similar,
And
yeah.
even though back in the day they didn't have so many windows like social media now, where you can see something and then be a part of it, they had to take newsletters, they had to take letters, they had to make phone calls, just so people can understand that, hey, I'm in the fight too, just like you are, because I'm dealing with it, though you were there, I'm still having the same, result as you. But now we have social media, like you said, and people can say more, and they can be more active as well.
Yes.
And it's like such a web to where they can get in touch with so many powerful people in the blink of an eye. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to help make a difference.
Right. And it's not even powerful people. It's everyday people
Mm-hmm.
to just speak up about it.
Yeah.
Y'all sent us in so many videos. First of all, y'all sent in the same video so many times, different people. And y'all can't even see our request form. Y'all sent in the same video, like, the Demouchets, y'all have to talk about this. Y'all got to react to this.
Yeah.
And we don't like politics like that. But you know what? We see what y'all going through. We about to talk about it. We about to learn what's going on for ourselves. And we have been in the background, looking up Kenyan TikTokers and people who's talking about it every day just to keep up with it and see what's going on. And I love that y'all youth is so fearless, so powerful.
No doubt,
and
no doubt.
I see that other countries on the continent is like saying that they're inspired by what's going on there. And they're saying we need to do what they're doing. Like, I love to see it.
It's a movement.
Yeah.
Did that involve burning buildings, looting businesses? Because this is also what the young people are being accused of, criminality as part of the protest.
I've been there from the very first day, like the first day when Rex got shot. I was in the upper side, I was in CBD. At 4, all of us decided to go home because it's the end of the day, nighttime was coming. The streets were generally not going to be safe. People left. But then the minute you're coming to downtown, you're being told, oh, the people who were here, there were goons, people's businesses were ransacked, people were attacked, so-and-so shop got vandalized. But it got vandalized in the evening. Most of the protesters were trying to go home. All of us wanted to go home. We were tired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, earlier I asked how many people had protested. For how many of you was this the first time being out on the streets protesting? How many of you were doing this for the first time? Okay. What did you see? What did you feel? Let me hear from some people.
And so on the street, they had a kind of like a festival vibe. People were shooting TikToks. People were talking to each other. People were giving out water, information, placards. People were selling gas masks. It was peaceful, mostly. The first Tuesday where I came, there was no problem. We were just dispersed by cops after. The Thursday after. The week after is when now we could see other people and you could tell who they are because the posts had the placards, dress in this, come with the handkerchief, come with the sign. So you could tell the difference from the protest.
Let me bring in Charles Owino, who you might recognize as a former spokesperson for the police. based on your own assessment and observation, how would you rate the behavior of police towards the protesters in those early days?
There's sometimes a big conflict that police find themselves in, because as you had the young man talk, most of these issues are political problems between the public and politicians. Police officers come in to enforce laws and regulations of the land. Our current constitution is a bit more vibrant, and Article 37 of the constitution provides that you can demonstrate, you can assemble, you can picket, you can present petitions to authorities peaceably and unarmed. That is the baseline. So we had but you can see as it progressed.
Wait. Shakira is saying it wasn't.
Like I said, I was arrested on the first Tuesday of the protest. There were over 200 people in Central Police alone. From what I witnessed and what I experienced, there was no fairness from the word go.
I did not mean fairness to her.
But I mean, who is it fairness to?
I've said the situation was a bit fair compared to the preceding days.
Before we continue, I just want to see clarity here, because who do the police respond and serve? Do they consider us first or the politicians?
Beautiful question. She actually said the quiet stuff out loud, what I was just thinking about, because oftentimes as protesters, the people come out with an agenda, with an idea, and they're loud, right? They're telling everybody what they're doing, what's finna happen, and then the message is very clear as day. Right. But as officers, we don't know what they're being told when they come. First thing we see is what they're carrying on their body and the amount of power they have with that.
Right.
But we don't know the message. We don't know the side notes they're having. We don't know who told them to do what when it's time to do it. So I love to see what he's finna say about it.
The police considers the nation, every one of you. Because, for example, she's a businesswoman. If you break into her shop and you steal everything and she has a loan, and there's even no insurance that will pay this, what happens to her? That's why we are saying, if the police is the devil, let them remain the devil. But don't go breaking into people's properties. So from where I sit, I don't want to defend anybody, but what I'm saying is, can we follow the law?
Okay, let me hear from some people here, because I'm seeing the hands coming up.
I hope we came here to have an honest conversation.
It's getting twisted.
If we're being honest to ourselves, the default position of the police of this country since independence has always been violence. Police brutality is known. Kenya is known for having police brutality, right? Now, during the day, I was there for most of the protests. Some of the people who came out during these protests, they're kids who are from middle-class families, privileged families, well-off families, from good neighborhoods. This is their first time protesting. These people, police brutality for them, it's things they see on TV or they read on the papers. But this time around, they faced it head-on, as Shakira said, from the first day. She would tell you this. If you go to these low-income or these neighborhoods, these informal settlements, the Madares, the Kibras, this is their daily reality. Extrajudicial killings is their daily reality. It's things that they face every single day. Brothers, sons, killed without any due process.
Yeah.
So if we're being honest to ourselves, the police of this country, they've never been a force for good.
Okay, let me speak to Ojiro, because he's just joined us from Haki Africa, which is a rights group, and you've heard what the former police spokesperson has said. What's your response?
To be honest, is that we need to have a very candid discussion, because I'm just from City Muchari now, where we are trying to trace information that has been given by police and check if actually it is real. We have got individuals that were killed by bullets, but the police have registered them at the Muchari as victims of incidences of accidents. Yet, when you go to the Muchar inside, you find gunshot wounds. Yeah. We have individuals, like 2 individuals, that were killed in the last protest in Kitengela. But the police registered them as individuals that had got accidents in Juja. So we need to be honest. I think from where we are, I think we need to ask what can be some of the accountability measures that we need to put in place. Because as we speak now, IPOA do not have the teeth to bite. And as we speak now also, we cannot have the police investigating their fellow police accused of criminality.
Okay, let me give Mr. Owino a chance to...
We have been reacting to Kenyan content for over 3 years, 2-3 years. And y'all know we react to content based on what y'all want us to react to. We seldomly find videos by ourselves. Y'all have never sent in anything that really showed y'all country in a negative light. And I think that speaks volumes. To know that police brutality is something that y'all face on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Y'all know we face stuff like that here, but that just speaks volumes to the type of people y'all are. Like, if there's something bad about Kenya that we see, it's not many. I can maybe think of one video, and that's the slums.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only video. So to know that y'all have been dealing with stuff and y'all kept that from us, y'all kept that content from us.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes alone, and that shows how much y'all love y'all country.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying videos that we get sent by other countries, if it's bad that they don't love their country. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that's the spirit of Kenyans. And so to see how y'all are coming together right now, and how he said having a revolution to save y'all country.
Yeah. It's not a good thing though whenever the officers unjustly have an act towards the people and then they have to cover it up. Because if their work was honest, they wouldn't have to cover it up. So oftentimes when they're doing that, it's so they don't either lose their job or they don't make their academy or the office looks bad or whatever district they're in, because we call it districts. Whatever it is they're doing, they don't want it to fall back on the people of their groups. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so it's like accountability really needs to be had.
Right. And when are these things happening? I don't even know how to really say it, but when is it happening? Because there was one, like when they first uncovered all the bodies, it was as if they just uncovered it. So is this happening like at night when people are starting to disperse and go home, like somebody else had said, or it's happening throughout? Like,
or is it happening like the young lady said, the fitness instructor, they come in plain clothes and they don't know?
Respond. And by the way, let's just be clear, he is no longer a police officer. He's here out of courtesy, right? But when you hear people speaking like this about police officers, surely you must agree that there's something wrong fundamentally.
What I can tell you from my experience, nobody has a right to harm another, including a policeman. And that is why there are many cases where police officers have been charged. They have been jailed. Because one thing I want to tell you is we will never fail to have policemen. And even in an ordinary life where there would be no policemen, you would find people fighting and killing one another. If I don't admit that some policemen make mistakes, I would be wrong. But if you don't admit that these demonstrations must be peaceful and we must be unarmed, you will also be wrong.
Okay, let me bring it, because for the interest of time, we have somebody here from the Law Society of Kenya, and I feel like post-protest, everybody is a little bit of a lawyer. So we're talking about provisions. What does the law say about peaceful protests, and what the police on the right? Because we saw images of people holding just the flag, and yet they're being sprayed with water cannon.
The unfortunate thing that we have witnessed in this country is the anarchy perpetrated by the state. And I'll say this because we saw a court in Malindi issue an order directing that the police officers should not use lethal weapons, they should not use force, they should not use water cannons. And it was clearly directed to the Inspector General of Police to ensure that they provide that command. The following day, there was a protest organized in the various cities, and we could witness the police were in total violation of that order. The first time the protest started, that is on 18th of June, at the Central Police Station. As lawyers, we responded to a distress call to provide legal support to some of the people who had been arrested because of peaceful protests. When the advocates arrived there, the police they were met by the police brutality, use of tear gas, yet there were advocates trying to seek to provide legal counsel to these protesters. So you could see the non-cooperation by the state agencies to provide, to comply with the law, to comply with the rule of law, and come to according people's their right to legal representation, their right to seek counsel, their right to talk to their relatives.
I'm going to give Mr. Owino a chance to respond to that, and then I want us to move away from the issue of police, yeah?
When you bar the police from using the tools required for their trade.
You mean live ammunition?
Even live ammunition. Yes, I don't want to lie. I want to be very honest. Yeah. Even live ammunition is a tool of trade for the police. We have had cases of terrorism here, people coming with bombs and firearms. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to tear gas, The court trying to stop the police from using tear gas or using baton or even using his gun is misplaced in the sense that it is equivalent to telling the police, stay at the police station, let us protest. There's a difference between peaceful assembly and rioters' assembly. When do you become rioters? When 12 or more people assemble with just a minute, with intent to disrupt or to cause chaos, they become rioters. And that is the time.
Let me give you.
She got to move around. This is the first time I've seen someone hold the moderator's hand because he want to finish their point.
Yeah, because she want to move on from that topic.
Yes.
Okay, live animation. now listen, I understand, the police's job. And again, I don't know the Kenyan constitution and I don't want to compare it to here. But I have been a protester before. I have been tear gassed before. Listen, I'm just here peacefully.
Yeah.
Trying to get my voice heard. And you throwing tear gas. That will cause an uproar. That will make the protesters turn into rioters.
I think what happens here is the listener knows how powerful the message is. And they don't want them to do that. So you can have a group of people, and I'm thinking about us for Mardi Gras. We are in numbers. And there's nothing that an officer is doing but just standing by and saying, make sure y'all chill and y'all good.
Yeah.
People are doing everything. Trust me, they're having too much fun. But when it comes to a message and everybody's out there in them numbers and they're saying one thing at one time, the nervousness clicks in. And then they try to tell those people, the listener, they try to tell those people that, hey, you just got to take that message and you got to take it, put it in a jar and seal it. We don't want that message to go out to the people because we have them thinking a certain way and we want to keep them that way.
Right. And I understand both sides of it. As a protester and as them being policemen, having law and order. I understand
Definitely,
that. But I would be lying if I said that it wasn't intimidating. Going out there because an injustice has happened and you want to make sure your voice is heard and you see them armoring up like we in war or something.
Just a minute. I'm trying to help.
Okay, but allow me also to give other people a chance.
The purpose of protesting is to disrupt, because otherwise we wouldn't need to protest. And if we do not cause a disruption of normal day-to-day activities, then the message doesn't go out. We had flags, water bottles, and masks. How does that equate to rioting? How does that compel the police officer to use ammunition against normal youth? And then my last point, from the way he's speaking, the fact that he started as a police officer and where he is right now, it shows that there's something fundamentally wrong from how policemen are trained and how they are put into the force, which is something we also have to deal with as a country.
Okay, do you guys agree? Okay, so you're telling me that you're triggered, the two of you. I was just, okay, talk to me.
Yes, one is that I think from where we are, the masses are saying that we demand political accountability because we think that the police has ceased to be independent. And we also think that the manner in which the relationship between the police and the masses is just weird and just extreme in terms of coercion. And that's why the young people are saying that on the context of the current situation, there is need for the president to listen more and for the people around the president to listen more to the young people. And the young people have got their issues in the open. They don't want to have a discussion behind the tent where they are saying that deal with corruption, deal with police accountability, deal with issues of transparency. So these issues are in the public domain. And so the bottom line is we expect the president to just do what the people want, and when we see them do those issues, we're gonna clap. But we cannot stay back and hope that the president will do it, because the president has been lying all the time. So
let me hear some more responses.
The police are governed by an act, the National Police Service Act, and in it there's a provision that guides police officers when they're allowed or how they're allowed to use firearms. Was it necessary to shoot Rex Masai in the back? Was it proportionate to shoot that kid in Githurai at night? Those are the kind of questions we want the police to answer.
Okay, so I just want us to move away from the issue of police, because this is not a debate about police officers, it's about the protests, right? The president has already made some concessions, fired nearly his entire cabinet. He's now reappointed some people, or at least nominated them. 6 of whom had been fired have now been nominated. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like the president is listening to the demands of the youth?
Honestly, I don't think he is. Because if you see the reshuffle, it's like he just switched positions, you know? It's like this person was here, come, stay here, you go, stay here. Just to show people, it's like he's playing around with people's mind, like I've done something. But for me, as a business person, let me tell you, this protest affected me personally, individually. Because on that Tuesday, the first shops, for 3 good hours, Quickmart was looted, those phone shops were looted, and there were no policemen. There was no one to show up. We made calls. Railway police station is just there. Kamukonji is just a few meters away, but they were not there. And as Mr. Wino is saying, that the police is supposed to protect us.
So when you hear that young people are getting ready to go back on the streets again this following week, and perhaps for many more weeks to come, my question becomes, how sustainable is it? I mean, will people be on the streets for a year, 2 years? When does it end, and what are the other options?
Sometimes we are bothered with what next, what is going to happen, instead of why. And the people are in the street because they have been very clear on what they want, which is accountability. They demand a government that those persons we know who have been involved in corruption scandals. For instance, we saw the reappointment, the proposed nomination list of some of the members of the cabinet secretaries. Some of them, we know them for being involved in serious scandals. So they are persons that do not meet the leadership and integrity test as provided in our constitution under chapter 6. So how long the protests are going to take, that depends on how fast the state is willing to listen to the concerns of the Kenyans.
Okay. So what are the real issues? Let's come back to that.
I'd like to go to the main tagline of what this Gen Z movement has been, which is Ruto must go. And it's evident that when we say Ruto must go, we don't specifically refer to Ruto, but the entire government that is backing him up. They've been given a chance time and time again, because these are politicians I've heard about since I was a little girl. So I think it's just time it's like deconstructing everything and start afresh from a new foundation.
Okay, let me hear from one more person and then we get some solutions, right?
There's a social contract that has been breached, and Kenyans have understood that.
Yes.
There's the government and there's the governed. The government gets their legitimacy from the consent of the governed. When you saw people storming Parliament that day, on the 25th of June, that was people saying this is an illegitimate government and we don't recognize them. That's the first thing that the Kenyans have understood. They're reclaiming back their country. The other thing I would say is, there's calls for dialogue, but how do you dialogue with someone who's insincere? Yesterday we saw the president nominate 11 cabinet secretaries. Yeah. Among those people was the Minister of Interior. This is a man, and I say this without fear of contradiction, who has blood on his hands. This is someone who oversaw the murder and the gunning down of innocent, unarmed civilians on the road like dogs, like animals. So that's the first person. The other person who was retained was the CS of Defense. This is a person who unconstitutionally deployed the military. What he did it brought so much tension to the country. So now when Ruto brings back such people to the cabinet, what he's doing is spitting on the graves of the people who died in the past 1 month. So you can't dialogue with such a person. Okay. He has no goodwill,
So no dialogue is what you're saying, right? And you're saying to me that so long as the core issues are not addressed, people will continue to go back to the streets. So what are the solutions?
I'm going to plead with the youth. We need a solution on how these protests are going to go on from now henceforth, if they're going to last longer. Personally, my children go to school in Nairobi. I work in Nairobi. That means if these protests are going to be happening every Tuesday, every Thursday, and Saturdays, that means my children will not go to school, I will not go to work, and I am a single mother of 3 children. Kindly, as a human being, I hope that this protest can take a better route. Mm-hmm. Can they change the strategy?
Yeah.
Kindly.
So while you support the movement, you don't want loss of business, you don't want loss of life. Okay, understood.
I do understand I try to understand where you're coming from, but we are trying to tackle a problem, and as youth, we feel the only avenue we have left is protesting. Why don't feel business people like you, our mothers, our parents, our grandparents, try and come as well and empower our voice towards the problem, because we are not the problem.
Yeah.
It is the government which is the problem.
Okay.
Yes, so
That's
they
a fair
amplify so that we can actually tackle the actual problem.
Now I can't say it's difficult, but it is. I guess you could say it is sticky because you have on one side the business of mothers and fathers and families who are running a business and they don't want their stuff, their windows broken. They don't want things taken from out of there. And then you also have the message that's in the streets, which is the core of the whole situation. So that is, I guess, organizing it a little better would make a lot of more people comfortable and be able to see who is there for the right reasons and who isn't there. Because for us, we may go out and have a protest, but then we may see someone spray painting the wall, and it's like, you didn't come to the meeting.
Right.
So how you make it out here to start terrorizing the city when we're not here to terrorize, we're here to give a message. So I think organizing it in a way where they can all have a better understanding on who's there and who's not. But then again, that's kind of difficult because of the numbers.
The numbers.
It's a lot of people.
But, when it comes to organizing, protest, and activism, it's up to the activists, the leaders, to make sure everything is going accordingly, right? Of course, they're not going to be able to handle everybody, but when you're organizing, everybody has a job.
We've seen. I've seen different organizations handle certain situations in a way, and I'm talking about they came in thousands.
Right. Everybody has a job, and when everybody know that we're on one accord, it will go accordingly. The loss of business, and as a mother, as a person who pay bills, my bills gotta get paid. So I understand where she's coming from, but also there's gonna have to be sacrifices to get what needs to get done. If you just abandon it, then it was all in vain.
Yeah, and we don't operate like that. Exactly.
Y'all gonna have to give us some updates on where it is now. This was about 2-3 weeks ago that this was filmed. So let us know where it is now. I was gonna say something else. I lost my thought.
Let's dig it big.
Right. Let me hear some more points.
My solution is simple.
Yeah.
The young people, you are the majority.
Oh.
You are 70%.
That's what I was gonna say.
The ex-cop has a solution though.
We'll see.
If he
it's young people who's
Gen
the
Z.
majority out there, right?
Right.
That's what I was talking about when it comes to sacrifice. The older people are going to have to go out there with them. You can't just let it fall just on Gen Z.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel you on that.
% of the population of this country.
And I know y'all
Stop
are
tribalism.
And I want to make that clear. And we don't ever want to come across like we're telling anybody what to do. We're just commentating.
Yeah, facts.
Okay, but and I know that other people are out there as well. It's just you can't abandon a revolution. It has to come to pass. Like the guy was saying from the law group, they are even attacking the lawyers who's trying to make sure that the people who are getting jailed is having their rights to contact the people and having counsel. So
everybody has a job to do, but when you have the power to put out misinformed information about people that's being jailed, and then the lawyers got to get the baton because they're trying to actually get involved and help the people that's being jailed for no reason. It's like now we have a bigger issue at that, so
because if the lawyers are getting jailed with them, who's gonna help the lawyers? Everybody got to work together. Dang, I keep forgetting what I was going to say, but go ahead.
Okay.
The young people, you are the majority. You are 70% of the population of this country. Stop tribalism.
We don't have tribalism.
We are not tribal.
Excuse me.
Him with his mic.
The problem is failing to listen. I don't say you are a tribalist. I say we have been practicing tribalism. Your generation should stop. I want to see it in the next elections. I want to see an election where you are going to elect people based based on the policies that they want to sell to you. So that when I go to my region where I come from, let us not be able to guess that in this region, if so and so is given a ticket, then he gets it. Because at the end of the day, what will help you to change systems is the democratic space you have in voting.
Okay.
Because currently,
I think that's a fair point. I'd like to give this gentleman a chance. He hasn't spoken.
I think it also trickles down to the CSOs and we as individuals on how we can extensively conduct civic education before the next elections. Because you realize that some of us as Kenyans, we are protesting, but we don't even know the roles of our governors, our MCAs, our senators. So the cycle continues. It's another vicious cycle. They'll come and mince the same lies as they did, and we'll be back in the streets shouting the same thing. So we need to fix this thing, and it starts with we as individuals and also the government on its part, because I don't see why the government funds civic education for them to teach us how to vote and not teach us why we should be voting in the first place.
All right, I like that point. So get informed, make sure that you know what you're doing before you get to the ballot. Yes. And finally, I'd like to hear from you, Moha. Let's close this with you.
When Mr. Wino talks about we wait until the next election, that's 3 years to go. That's politics of the ballot. What you want right now is politics of oversight.
Yeah.
Yes. As civilians, we're going to take our civic duty very seriously from now on. And that's something that we've seen already. The other day on Twitter, we had 2 different simultaneous Twitter spaces on Wednesday. Well, one group was teaching people about the bills that are being tabled in Parliament, and the other group was teaching people, it's a group of young lawyers who are teaching people about the Katiba, the Constitution, and breaking it down in a very accessible way. So that's, from now on, that's the thing. We're still going to sustain this. We're reaching a point where we're going to make life very uncomfortable for politicians, and in a non-violent way. Okay. Let me just clarify that. So, but the protest will continue. They'll be scarce, but they will continue.
All right. So we have to wrap there because of the time. But I did ask a question, what next? And I think the answer has been very clear here, that even if it's not on the streets, it's going to be somewhere online or perhaps at a debate like this, right? So I thank you all for participating. I did read somewhere that these protests were not so much anti-government, but pro-good governance. And I think this debate here has clearly illustrated that. Thank you all for watching.
Yeah, she does a great job when she's speaking with the crowd, man. But I've never seen somebody try to take the mic out of hand
Come back.
like this before. Great video. Make sure you guys check our channel out. But at the end of the day, they was talking about voting and in education.
Yeah.
What I truly believe is that if you have a group of people, for instance, Gen Z, who's all out in the streets and they're protesting for one reason, that can all eventually turn into an organized vote. And once that power hit the poll, they don't have to hit the street no more. Yeah. Because that answer is going to be right there in everyone's hand at the ballot. So.
Yeah, but that's 2 years. They change. Said that.
Which is factual, but at the end of the day, that still is an option for the future to come, so things can be able to progress in the direction they wanted to. Because again, it's the people they asking to be heard. They want to be heard.
Right. But look at the goodness of it, though. This is happening now, but these are people who are going to grow up, and they're going to have
the power in that.
Yeah, they're going to have families. They're going to take their votes seriously.
Exactly.
Now, again, we don't really know the ins and outs when it comes to politics in Kenya, but these are going to be people who are going to tell their children and tell their neighbors and tell everybody else how to vote in their interests and what they want to get their good governance of what they want.
Yeah.
So we love the momentum, and we love to see Kenyans stick together and fight for what they want. All right. Thanks. Thank you guys so much for sending this video in. We hope you guys enjoyed it with us. Be sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Peace.